Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com, joined by Justin Rogers. Lions getting ready for their second to last game of the season, Justin, at Soldier Field in Chicago, a place they won last year, but historically have struggled there. I don't think they've won back-to-back games in Chicago since the early 70s, 72, 73. So it's been a while. Frankly, this team has struggled historically in the cold. 16 straight games they've lost that were in sub-40 temperatures. This team likes to say, especially under Caldwell, this team likes to say, we're an indoor team with an outdoor mentality. That historically has not been the case. Of course, this team is different than the last ones. But what do you make of this team? Is this team ready and prepared to win in the cold?
Yeah, it's a common theme, not just for warm weather teams, but for dome teams, that they're a softer breed of football. I tend to believe, thinking about it, that this team is equipped to succeed outdoors, and the biggest reason is defense travels.
Absolutely.
And this defense is very good. They've shown it all year. I think weather probably plays in their favor even more with some of the punishing hits they can deliver, with the speed they have to close in the secondary, and a pretty aggressive defensive line. So look at that, and I think that yes, that does give them a chance to succeed outdoors. And then on the offensive side of the ball, instead of being a hyper-aggressive team, they're very conservative. A lot of short routes. They try to run the ball, not so successfully, which is probably their biggest hindrance. But it's not like you're looking at the Saints or the Rams of the Greatest Show on Turf era, where they needed all these precise deep routes to really thrive. So, close games, that's what this team's all about.
I don't think you need advanced metrics to tell you that adverse weather affects the offense more than a defense. Generally, it's harder to throw the ball. It's harder to hit holes when you can't feel your legs or your fingers or what have you. It's hard to hang on to the football. Defenses typically will translate better to lower temperatures. Obviously, the Lions have the best scoring defense in the NFL. The run defense is phenomenal. They get after quarterbacks. You have to, I think, really like the physicality that they can bring in cold weather. Some of those hits on quarterbacks could do some damage in cold weathers. So I do think that this team is prepared in some ways better than its predecessors to excel in the cold. And I think when you emphasize this week against the Bears are just not a good team, and that's the bottom line too. Is you're not playing a good outdoor team, you're playing a bad outdoor team. The Bears are in disarray, especially offensively at this point. I think you really have to like the Lions' chances.
As Caldwell pointed out, it's not even going to be that cold. We're probably
37 right now, I think, is the forecast.
I was going to say around 40 degrees. Yeah. It's chilly, but it's not like it's 0 degree. Freezing temperatures are even worse. Some of the stuff that you see, or the snowstorm that they experienced last year in Philadelphia. This is it's a mild cold, if you will. The one thing that I think this team lags behind, and it prevents them from being a great cold weather team, it probably will prevent them from being a great playoff team, is what I mentioned earlier, the run game. That's probably this team's biggest weakness. They can't run consistently up the middle. Great teams tend to do that. You look at Seattle last year, the San Francisco teams that have done very well over the last several years, even when the Ravens were good, they were able to run with Ray Rice and that backfield rotation there. So Joique Bell has run very well down the stretch here for the Lions, but he needs to be better and needs to be more consistent, and the whole backfield does if they really want to take that step as a cold weather / playoff team.
Well, that was going to be my point. Is that I do think the Lions' rushing offense has struggled throughout the year. So just look at the stats. I think they're 28th to 29th at this point in rushing the football. But Joique Bell has been much better in the past 5 or 6 weeks. He's averaged at least 4 yards a carry in 5 of his past 6 games. He was averaging 4.6 a pop last week against the Vikings, until he was called on to run into the line of scrimmage on his last 3 carries, and that drove down his average. But 4.6 a pop, and the Vikings aren't a bad defensive team. That's encouraging. I think you do see some positive signs in the rushing game. You do have some better teams awaiting you in the playoffs, and that'll be the big variable. There's a big difference between the Vikings and, say, the Seahawks, but we'll see what happens when it comes to with the Lions rushing game. But I think there are some encouraging signs that's coming around.
They're only worried about Chicago right now, Kyle. Let's not get too far in advance here.
I promise I'm not texting and videoing. I promise. Jim.
Right. It's just Chicago, and from there.
That's what we got for Justin Rogers, and I'm Kyle Meinke. We are indoors in the warm, thank God. Indoor mentality, indoor team, right?
I'm all indoors. Yeah.
We're MLive. Keep it right here.